Okay, so hello everybody. I'm Shaban Shaame. Actually, I came here and I was very happy because 3 years ago, when I was telling everyone that I'm going to make a game on blockchain, people were thinking I was crazy. Some people were thinking I was dealing drugs or making some crazy stuff with cryptocurrency. And today here in Pocket Gamer, we have a full afternoon just talking about blockchain. So I'm super excited. So this is me, producer of Spells of Genesis, a game that has assets on blockchain, where we did an ICO 3 years ago before it was trendy. We also have a wallet called the Book of Words. So in the wallet, you can give, trade, do whatever you want with your game assets, whether they're from Spells of Genesis, our games, but also we are having other games in there. We explained during this afternoon about true ownership, but really blockchain empowers that, and that's really a revolution. We talk also about cryptocurrency, so no secret, it's growing crazy these days. So not only the currency, but also all the blockchain projects that are coming along. So we've seen an amazing growth of these cryptocurrencies. So global market for a game item, 15 billion. So this is a very huge market, but this market is not yet on blockchain, but moving very soon. So we have $1.4 billion on the digital collectible games, and Hearthstone make 395 million just on that. So some lesson that we have from putting our game on blockchain and things that we are seeing. So the market cap of our rarest card was $2 million, meaning there is 200 limited edition of this card, and average value of this card traded on the exchange among the player is about 10K US dollar. So there is a big appetite for this digital asset, as you can see. The other thing that we do is we implemented in December what we call blockchainization. So basically, it's like we're paying our player to play in a sense, but we're just giving away digital blockchain cards when they play a lot, when they achieve certain level, when they upgrade the card. And then those cards are bought by other players. So for example, a player blockchainized this card and sold that card to other player for a little like than $500. So as we said, there is a market need. There is a market need. People are crazy about digital items, but if you add on top of that true ownership, it really takes all this power. So for Spells of Genesis, to give you a number, we're selling cards both off-chain, what we call off-chain, meaning with in-app purchases, but also limited edition cards on blockchain. And we sold for about 20K cards. They're about $20 each on average. And if you put this in comparison, the skin game market's worth 15 billion annually, but it's not yet on blockchain. So here there is an opportunity. As you can see, on our small scale, people are spending a lot of money, but when all these big players will come to blockchain, this number will go very high. So people like collecting digital things. And especially if they have the ownership of what they purchased, there is a sense of proudness, a sense where you really own and you have the freedom to trade, to share the asset that you own. And also when you purchase it, it's not only beautiful, but it's just like a piece of art. It's a piece of art, or like a nice piece of art that you can purchase. It has a value because it's a unique piece. So there is an appetite for blockchainization. We mean by that is the game economy is changing, because as we can reward players to play, they are more interested to collect, to join, and to play the game. So our currency, BitCrystal, we did an ICO 3 years ago. The value went about 100 times the initial value. Now it's sitting about 20 million. It's because people are using that currency not only in a speculative way, but also because it allows them to purchase cards to play the game or to have a direct benefit in the game. And this, when we launch this blockchainization, it's limited to one per player, because it has a real blockchain cost. But it shows the interest of how many users are willing to receive blockchain assets. But not all players understand blockchain, and some people don't care at all because they don't understand it. But this is this 230 users. They are the most valuable player that we have. So lesson 4, and I think this is super important. Hunt for crypto player, not speculator. There is a lot of ICOs that raise a lot of money, but the customer, the people who are willing to use the currency for the benefit of the product is very, very low. And what we saw from Spells of Genesis, so we have people who bought the currency for speculation, but also we try to funnel them to buy the card, because that's where our ecosystem has value. So we notice people comparing in-app purchases to blockchain purchases. People spend about 7 times more money if they retain the ownership of what they purchase. So on our wallet, Book of Forbes, as I said, we have multiple games, multiple projects. So on Book of Forbes, there is about 100 million value of assets sitting there. So among about 13 projects. And a little anecdote is, we were talking before about doing an ICO or selling cards. One of our users called Age of Chain, he's a German guy, he's working alone, and he decided not to do an ICO. He just created images, cards, that he put on sale. He told people, hey, I want to do a game, I don't know exactly what it's going to be, but I'm pre-selling the card and they'll be rare. And actually he made quite a good bunch of money for a solo user just by issuing game assets. So my lesson 5, I would say what we really learn is what drives blockchain is user-generated content. I was last week in San Francisco, and there is a meme project called Rare Pepe, and there was a rare collectible event, and where we talked about game on blockchain and collectibles. And this Homer Pepe, there was a live auction, and it was sold for about $40K live auction for a unique piece that's a card that was just made by someone. and it was sold for 40K. So what's interesting with that project is these are cards that anyone could create. So I just draw something, I put it on blockchain, and I can start selling. So since it's user-generated content, it has a very high viral effect because everyone can make a little money by selling his art, if I can call it like that, but it is. So it really spread out. So that's the huge opportunity for crypto games for this year, I'm sure. So I'll give a bonus lesson. Thing that we learned is offer free stuff. And if it's blockchain stuff, it's even better because it has value. And when we started with Spells of Genesis, we started giving off BitCrystal. We started giving off some stuff. And as an example here, you can scan this little QR code and you can review the talk, just what I explained today. Put a little review, and I will send you a free card, and that's a limited edition, so it's free, and it might be very valuable in the future. It's already a bit valuable. It's a card that I give away only in person, in meetings, and in person. So that was more or less the things that we learned by running Spells of Genesis. So if you have any question, you're welcome to ask.
So you're saying tradable goods are generating more money for games?
Yes.
Increasing revenues?
Yes.
You could also say because they're tradable, they're not going to sell 100, they're just going to sell 20, and those are going to be sold a couple of times.
Yes. Yes, there is the question of if people can retrade your assets, and usually games tend to lock that. But if you think about Magic the Gathering, for example, a very famous trading card game, Magic the Gathering, people spend more money, much more money on average, hardcore, than on digital games. Even though they can buy the card from there is a dynamic secondary market. But in a sense, if you have a dynamic secondary market, your asset is de facto much more valuable. Because when you buy it, it's not an expense, but it's an investment. But even if you don't sell it, even if you will keep it your whole life, you will be likely to pay more money to get that asset. And it proved to work for us if we compare the revenue on-chain and off-chain. Yep.
I see you're on iOS, so do you have any way in which Apple is making money out of doing?
So the game Spells of Genesis is on iOS, and within Spells of Genesis you cannot trade blockchain assets. But with your account you can link to your wallet with Book of Words, and then the games goes and look in your wallet and look if you have the dragon, if you have the sorcerer, and it will activate it in the game. So all the trading and all the blockchain aspects occur outside of the game itself. And Book of Words was the wallet where you can manage, was for a long time on iOS, but it has been recently banned. And we are working on a web version. But if you do a game, you can separate that. But it's interesting because it's two channels where you can monetize your game. You can monetize on blockchain, on wallets, and you can monetize in-game within the store. Yes?
So I find that the App Store restrictions, both Google and Apple, are pretty nasty when it comes to even blockchain-based assets if you want to sell them, just using the App Store wallet, which for game developers is pretty bad. What do you think will change App Store rules? Is it just going to be games like yours become ever successful and eventually they'll just be pushed into change, or do you think they'll continue to resist it?
So I think here there is only one solution that will either have to adapt or be disrupted. And it happened often with people who had very old model, and things were pushing in another direction. They try to stick on the old model, and at some point they'll have to adapt or being disrupted. The same way Apple disrupted Microsoft and other smartphone provider with a more flexible, more open for developer ecosystem. So here they will have to adapt or being disrupted by someone else.
What would such disruption look like? Could you go and download the games from somewhere else?
So for now, the only way to get apps on mobile is going to store. But if you look at this way, as a player, if you can play games that you lose money, they don't pay you, and in another way, there is another store that pays you by playing, where what you buy has a real value. So how long will you stick to the old store, even if it's more convenient? It's just a question of time, where the new store will be better and better, improved, that nobody will want to go back to the old store.
Okay.